As John Hill pointed out, our esteemed alumna, Julianna Margulies, class of 1989, has lived many lives before our eyes. Active on stage, in film, and on television, virtually all of us know Julianna's work on the TV series ER, where in the role of Nurse Carol Hathaway, she was nominated for an Emmy Award all 6 years of her run, and in 1994 won the Emmy for Best Supporting Actress in a Television Drama. The same intelligence, depth, and craft Julianna brought to her ER character is just as apparent in her recent work as Alicia Florrick in the critically acclaimed CBS series The Good Wife, of which I must say I am a fan. Not only have the reviews been glowing, but yesterday's New York Times even quoted Julianna and mentioned another SLC alumna, Tova Felcher, in citing The Good Wife for its efforts in casting and accommodating stage actors. All told, it's no surprise that Julianna's work in the show has garnered prestigious awards. A Golden Globe early this year, and shortly thereafter, her third Screen Actors Guild Award. That is part of the successful and glamorous public story. But let me give you some of the backstory on our commencement speaker, just a taste. First, you should know that the creativity she manifests in her work, and has done so throughout her career, may in part have been a legacy of her parents. Her mother, Francesca, was a ballet dancer, and her father, Paul, an advertising writer and copywriter and author of the famed Alka-Seltzer slogan, "Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is." In the world of advertising, that achievement is at least the equivalent of winning a Nobel Prize. What you also can't know from Julianna's official biography is the substance of her work here at Sarah Lawrence. Once we do a bit of digging, it's easy to understand her progression from student to world-class actor. Faculty member Angel Mosier praised Julianna's intellectual honesty. And in an excerpt from an actual evaluation by her Don, "Don't worry, students, I have obtained security clearance for what I'm about to read." From her Don, literature faculty member Bill Schulenberger offered the following. Julianna's critical writing showed great imaginative empathy and intellectual sharpness. She could step into the landscape of a text and report its spiritual features within. She showed how you can't talk about things like mood, theme, or character in a text without registering the concrete impact of the text language on its reader. Julianna kept showing how vital an activity reading is, and how literature can come alive in you if you are willing to open yourself to it. If that's how Julianna approached literature back in her undergraduate days, I submit it's not very difficult to understand how she now approaches scripts and the nuance of fleshing out character. And finally, I'd like to quote from a reminiscence by art history faculty member Joe Forte. "There were times in our dawning and class conferences when I hoped to become just like Julianna Margulies when I grew up." She was already an accomplished student when she became my student and Dawnie. I had little doubt that her enthusiasm, warmth, intelligence, sincerity, and compassion would translate both into a successful career and life. In fact, after she graduated, I sheepishly left her a message through her agent on some college-related matter. In the midst of a conference about half an hour later, the phone rang and I heard a voice say, "Joe, it's me, Julianna." I was so amazed by her joyous and energetic manner that it took me a minute to reconcile it with the voice of the star of ER. She sounded exactly like the young student I had admired years ago. I think we can say with some certitude that Sarah Lawrence did not provide Julianna with her joyous and energetic manner, nor even with the intelligence, compassion, and humanity cited by other faculty members. But something transformative for Julianna clearly happened here, just as happened for those of you graduating today. We can sense such transformation in how Bill Schulenberger phrased his evaluation, in the nascent promise that Joe saw in Julianna, and indeed all of our faculty have seen in each of you, and worked so diligently to develop and grow. In how Julianna and thousands of our alumni approach their professions and careers and life itself. Even casual visitors sense it in the engagement and energy on our campus. The connection is actually quite simple. As we are transformed at Sarah Lawrence, so we transform the world. Julianna Margulies is a stellar example of the intellect, breadth, creativity, and passion that characterizes Sarah Lawrence College and our students. Beyond that, she epitomizes the kind of transformational power that in her case turns words on a page into compelling and memorable realizations of character. And we're very, very proud of who she is and what she's done. Ladies and gentlemen, class of 2010, I give you Julianna Margulies.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen Lawrence. Distinguished guests, faculty, proud parents, and graduating class. I have to admit, I was in such a panic about speaking to you today for several reasons. The first being that last year's commencement speaker was Rahm Emanuel. The White House Chief of Staff, top advisor to President Barack Obama. And I, on the other hand, am known as America's favorite TV nurse from a show I did back in the 90s. I was so apprehensive to speak to this class, given everything I've read about your generation lately. And how supposedly detached everyone was. I actually had nightmares that all of you would be texting and tweeting during the high points of this address. I was so nervous, in fact, that I've been doing quite a bit of reconnaissance. I've read every graduation speech ever written. I sought advice from the smartest people I know, but mostly I have been listening. Listening to your reflections on the school, listening to your plans post-college, and listening to your thoughts for our future. Part of this listening was to help me write this speech, but selfishly, part of it was for my 2-year-old son, because he has such a big stake in your actions. And I was curious. I heard Rahm cried too, so I don't feel so bad now. I was curious to learn about you people who are paving his way. I spent some time with a few of your fellow graduates, Hillary, Nora, Zach, Sarah, and Rachel. And I was really impressed by every one of them, and I want to thank them for sharing their stories with me. They allowed me to wake up to my college again, which is truly a beautiful thing. And after all my listening, I've concluded, at least here at Sarah Lawrence, our future's looking very bright. And my son and his generation are in very good hands. As your commencement speaker, I'm supposed to say something like, now that you're all entering the real world. But I hate that adage. It feels condescending. Didn't we all enter the real world when we were born? The truth is, your lives really began to take flight 4 years ago, if not before then. Sarah Lawrence has given you a foundation and tools to think for yourself, which is the most important asset you'll ever have in life. You already have everything you need to make it in this world, but if you believe that this degree is somehow an end of study or a race to the finish line, then you're missing the point. This education is a gift you will be unwrapping for the rest of your life. The graduates that I met were surprisingly secure, and not with any false bravado. I mean, they were pillars of true confidence. There was not a twinge of anxiety in them, and although all of you are set to face a competitive global job market, a tough economy, and a planet rife with political and social unrest, these students that I sat down with did not buy into that adage of suddenly entering the real world, and neither should you. You're already living in it. Plus, you're all at least a little New York savvy, so you've got a leg up. The only difference between today and tomorrow is that tomorrow you get to take the lessons you have now learned and bring them to other people and other experiences. One of the students I met with, Rachel, her father is a professor at the University of St. Louis, and he recently asked her, "So, after 4 years of Sarah Lawrence, what have you learned?" Rachel answered with the following: "Dad, I can't tell you what I've learned because it's inherent in who I am." Her answer perfectly illustrates the difference between our school and other colleges and universities. When I was studying here, I realized I had the capacity to learn everything I could. I got to write my own papers, express my own thoughts. I didn't have a textbook thrown at me and a teacher yelling at me to memorize something. They said question it, challenge it, debate it, think about it. And I was encouraged to explore other passions rather than just finding one major. Like all of you, I had mandatory one-on-one conferences. So I attended a traditional English lit class with Bill Schollenberger, where we read the works of T.S. Eliot, Emily Dickinson, but it was in our one-on-one sessions where I developed my own love affair with authors like Flannery O'Connor, where Professor Schollenberger gave me the assignment to rewrite one of Miss O'Connor's short stories from another character's point of view. Only at Sarah Lawrence. Do your professors encourage you and the students have the audacity to rewrite literary giants? But it was one of the most challenging and exceptional experiences of my career in college, and it stays with me always. I found my passion for theater on this campus. I was cast in my first play here. It was David Rabe's In the Boom Boom Room. I was a go-go dancer. They gave me 3 lines, a pair of thigh-high go-go boots, and a dancing cage, and I was hooked for life. I was hooked on the acting, not the go-go dancing. But I knew if I wanted to be an actor, I needed to learn everything. I needed to learn about art and history and science and French and so much more. And the professors gave that to me at this campus. There is not a day that goes by that I do not call on my formal education. My film professor, Gilberto Perez, he taught me how to dissect a script. It's a process I use every day. My best friends from college are my best friends today. Alec Holland, Robin Goldwasser, Bill Webb. Bill Webb flew from California to be here to see this speech. The seeds that we planted at Sarah Lawrence have grown into deep roots of friendship. And I've been fortunate to meet many influential and famous people, some of whom are my dear friends, but the relationships you make here can be the ties that bind. Don't ever forget that. I want all of you graduates to look around. Go ahead, look at each other. You've got time. Soak this moment in. Get a good look at your colleagues who will ever be linked to you by the mantra of learning to think for yourself, and by a one-of-a-kind experience that no one will ever be able to take away from you. I want you to get a good look at these beautiful people who will support your passions, be your network of contacts, and if need be, catch you when you fall. Okay, you can look back here now. I want to share a personal story with you, one of the times that tested my Sarah Lawrence Foundation and values. I've never really told this story publicly before, and I'm sharing it with you solely in hopes that it will inspire you to stay true to your heart, because there is such great value in that. Shortly after graduation, I got very, 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 very lucky. I landed a role on a show called ER. It was a huge hit all over the world. I soon had money, accolades, status, and George Clooney. I was 26 years old. After 6 years of playing that character of Nurse Carol Hathaway, it was time to go. I missed being away from my home in New York. My contract was up. And while the ER experience was absolutely incredible and changed my life forever, for me, the decision was a no-brainer. My home is here. I wanted to get back to theater. I wanted to do an independent film. I wanted to experience all 4 seasons again. And I thought I had earned the right to be able to live my life the way I wanted to. I had already committed to doing a play at Lincoln Center, and everything seemed perfect. I was confident in my decision. Until they started to throw so much money at me. So much money. It started clouding my vision. Everyone around me kept saying, "Take the money. It's only 2 more years of your life." But I said, I'm not happy here anymore. I don't want to get lazy with the character. I don't want people to grow tired of her. I want them to remember her. And the voices of dissent continued. No woman makes this kind of money in the business unless you're Julia Roberts. I was very conflicted. And I called my father and I said, "Dad, I don't know what to do. It's $27 million. He gave me the most amazing answer. He said to me, "When is enough enough? You're 32 years old. You own your own home. You have money in the bank. When is enough enough?" I kept hearing my father's words, knowing he was right, knowing my gut instinct was right, but everyone else was telling me, take the money and be thankful. Now, I'm not much of a spiritualist, but I went to this bookstore in LA called the Bodhi Tree. We have some LA people. I was looking for some kind of divine intervention. Absolutely everyone except my own family was telling me that I was crazy. I thought this might be a good time to look outside of myself and the people that I knew. I went to the Buddhist section because I thought if any religion was the most fair to both sexes, it's Buddhism. And girl power is important. I am, after all, a Sarah Lawrence graduate. I picked the first book that called out to me. It was called Awakening the Buddha Within by Lama Surya Das. I bought it, I went home, went into my bedroom, closed the door, opened the book. By the way, this is exactly how it happened. It is a true story, verbatim. I closed my eyes. I put my finger down on a line. I opened my eyes. The line read, "I realized my mission in life was to learn more, not earn more." There it was. Learn more, not earn more. I kept hearing the phrase over and over. And then I read about the author of this book. He had been a big investment banker and hated who he was becoming. He wanted to find himself again. He gave all his material possessions away and found himself through Buddhism. Luckily, all I had to do to find myself again was to say no to $27 million and be called a crazy person for the rest of my life. But I knew I had made the right decision for me. So I left DR and I packed up for New York. I had no idea the backlash I would get for this decision. Frankly, I didn't think it was anybody's business. But people said some vile and horrible things about me. One day I was just at the gym watching TV, and some morning talk show was making fun of me, saying that I would be their doorman in 10 years. And who did I think I was? After all, I was 32, not some spring chicken. That is a direct quote from a woman, I might add. That my career was over and I was an idiot. I called my father in tears, and I said, "Dad, everyone's mocking me and saying I'm crazy." And my father said, "What you did makes them think, what would they do? By turning that money down, it makes them feel less than, because they never would. The American dream is supposed to be $27 million, and you said, I'm happy without it." What I did, whether you agree with it or not, was very Sarah Lawrence. I was thinking for myself, and I didn't act out of fear. Now, don't get me wrong. I love making money. I love it, really, I love it. And I don't want any of the parents out there rolling their eyes. You know, I just spent tens and thousands of dollars on my child's education. Now some TV actress is telling them, turn the money down, take off Broadway. No. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, my hope for all of you graduates is that you'll have a prosperous and thriving career. And you have to remember, you will more likely find that pot of gold if you follow your passion, are driven to succeed, and open to learning more as you go. Remember, the guys who founded Google were passionate about the search first. Money came later. Which brings me to another Sarah Lawrence graduate, Zach. This intelligent, handsome young man is headed to Northeastern to pursue a PhD in computer science. And I asked him what he wanted to do with that degree. Well, I want to go back to Sarah Lawrence and teach, he said. First, that is such a testament to how much people love and believe in this school. And second, what a noble pursuit. And thirdly, whatever Zach, whether he comes back here or not, he's on his path and is, as my mother would say, exactly where he's supposed to be to achieve his dream. As Zach and the rest of you are offered new opportunities, and fret not, new opportunities will come, even in this crappy economy. You will measure them against the goals you have set for yourself today. Oftentimes, the distance between the opportunity you have and the goals you've set is the same distance between true fulfillment and settling. Be fearless, but be thoughtful and mindful in your fearlessness. I've learned to go fully in the face of my dreams, and I would recommend you all do the same. Now is the time in your life to be selfish, to explore, to take chances, but remember, being selfish is not the same as being self-indulgent. You have a gift of time. Use it to do what you love. Believe anything is possible, and then work like hell to make it happen. Your generation has everyday tools of information that other generations would simply marvel at. Do not, as President Barack Obama says, use them as instruments of distraction. Use them to empower your lives and fuel your dreams. In turn, don't be disheartened by the current state of the world. Just simply work to make it better. The time in your life when you don't have obligations and considerations like family, mortgages, bills, bosses, to the time you do goes by in the blink of an eye. Use it wisely. 10 years after my decision to leave ER, I had built a life for myself, and I felt so fulfilled with a husband and a baby and a grounded life in New York City that I cherished. I was doing Broadway, off-Broadway, a film here or there, a miniseries, building friendships, and experiencing a rich and beautiful life. And then lightning struck twice, which is a true rarity in my business. When the role of the good wife was offered to me, I wanted it very badly, but it was supposed to shoot in Los Angeles or Vancouver. I knew I couldn't move my family there. I was not willing to uproot my life, and I had to be willing to give up the show. And I told them with a heavy heart that in order to do it, they would have to shoot in New York. If there is a lesson to be learned from that, it is, if you stay true to who you are, you will more likely find happiness. It just may take a little longer sometimes. Ultimately, they were able to bring the show to New York, and ironically, sometimes we even shoot on this campus. You're looking at someone who truly feels blessed. I'm almost embarrassed by this life of riches that my education has afforded me. The education I received here gave me the confidence to have the life I always envisioned. We have that in common. This is a smart group of people. You have so much to offer, and I can't wait to see the next chapter in each of your lives. Spending time on this campus and this speech and meeting these students reminded me of all the promise that emanates from these Tudor buildings. I forever carry that in my heart with great pride. I hope you do too. Thank you so much, and congratulations, Sarah Lawrence. Class of 2010.